From today, the Fair Work Commission's decision to increase national minimum wage takes effect. The minimum wage is going to be increased by 3.5%, with the hourly rate rising to $24.94. While this is undeniably great news for the 3 million people working on the minimum wage, other things are also going up this financial year. Your power bills, tax on your super, the cost of sending letters, internet prices, and new vehicles thanks to Labor's ute tax. So Hollie, while this is great news, is it really enough? And you also think about the 3 years we've had where we've seen declining living standards, falling real wages. 3.5% is nice, but it's nothing.
Look, it's really not competing with inflation in the real world. And we know that we're seeing increasing costs across the board, whether it's at the checkout, whether it's your energy bills or at the petrol bowser. Things are just going up, up and up all the time. And Australian families are really struggling. But what worries me about this is there's been such a slump in productivity and this wage increase hasn't been tied to it, and the impost that it's going to have on particularly a lot of small businesses that are struggling as it is and battling with these costs, particularly their energy costs, that this is just going to be another additional cost for them without them necessarily seeing boosts in productivity, cuts to red tape. All of those things are just increasing for them.
I think that, I mean, you can say, all right, other things are going up as well, but it's worse if they go up and the minimum wage doesn't go up, surely. And again, you can say that, oh, it's nothing really, but it's $1,500 a year more, $1,500 a year. That's going to be enough to make up the difference in the increase in most people's power bills, especially with the government thing. So I think, you know, we can kind of get a bit too doom and gloom. Oh, everything's terrible. The government's ruined everything, blah, blah, blah. Actually, inflation has come right down in the last figures. It's at the very bottom end of the RBA's target bandwidth. I think it was about 2.1 and the bandwidth's 2.3, 2 to 3%. So you actually can't get a more perfect figure. That is exactly where the RBA wants it to be. And these are, you know, the lowest paid workers. They're often unskilled workers. There's probably not much scope for them to increase their productivity. They're shellacking it out as hard as they can as it is. It's probably the workers in the middle who. So I think it's great.
Yeah, okay.
Viva the workers.
Joe's optimistic. I love that. But I guess the problem is here. The thing with inflation is that even if inflation itself is not going up, that is just the rate of change. The prices have still gone up.
That's right, and they're not going back down.
And they're not
going back down. And so when we did see those big jumps in inflation, we saw that prices went up, whether it was at the supermarket, we saw in energy bills. We're not seeing them come back down. Inflation, they might be growing at a slower rate now, but they're still growing.
So wage increases should be even higher.
No, that's not, Joe. You've got to look at the economy in totality. And the reality is that can businesses afford, because they're having their superannuation imposts go up, they're having all the increases go up on the in their energy bills, and we know many businesses are finding stresses under that, and that we know that these businesses aren't getting the trade going through, and what's going to be the...
And also, exactly a good point. And where are these wage rises coming from? This is a centrally determined decision by the Fair Work Commission. This is not coming from productivity. It's not coming from innovation. It's coming from a centrally determined wage setting, which means who's going to pick up the slack for it? We're already seeing record small business insolvencies. Many are operating on razor-thin margins. And labour costs are one of the costs that have gone up substantially since the pandemic, with a corresponding fall in productivity. So it's great for some, but does it risk doing more damage to the economy overall?
Well, it's great for more than it's not great for. There are more people on the minimum wage than are employing people on the minimum wage. So if you're looking for the greatest good for the greatest government...
But if those businesses can't operate, then they won't have jobs.
Yeah, but I think most of them do, and most small businesses are very resilient. And if you just sort of say, you know, if your position is there should...
being put to the test.
But if you're saying, there should be no legal minimum wage, it should just be whatever the market, you know, can bear.
I
don't think anyone seriously thinks that. I think it's good that we have a minimum wage. It's why we have such an advanced economy. The vast majority of businesses, big and small, can and will accommodate this. And I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think the problem is it's so much broader than one particular issue. And unless we start getting serious about looking at the 5,000 additional pieces of red tape that this government's introduced, the cost of doing business is out of control, and just adding more to those bills for small business and medium-sized business owners, you know, you've got to make sure you get those levers right, because the unemployment rates have been really good, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay that way.
Exactly, so true.